Hello and welcome to TBT Talks live with me, Steve Hoare. After a week's break, where some issues cropped up last week where we couldn't record the show, unfortunately, but we're back better than ever, as they say, to review what's been a pretty up and down week, I think it's fair to say, for Liverpool Football Club. And we're also going to have a little look ahead towards the weekend, and if time permits, we might have a little mooch at Real Madrid away as well, but we might try and avoid that as best we can to go through the week that was and the week that's coming up. Joined as ever by Craig Ozzy Austin. We've got Dave Fisher with us again, and joining us for his debut on the show, we've got Jason Roberts. So I might as well get cracking on to it straight away, and Ozzy, I'll come to you first. Hull 0, Liverpool 0, or Liverpool 0, Hull 0, however you want to say it. It takes me back, Oz, to games under previous managers, and also maybe Brendan's first season, where we huffed and we puffed, but we couldn't really create any opportunities, bar the odd half chance here and there, and the one proper chance we had, I guess we missed, and it kind of bit us in the arse a bit.
Was, mate, it was a lot like Liverpool of the old, as you just said there. A lot of the times, the back end of last season, when we were in that magnificent run, a lot of us found ourselves saying, this time last year we'd have drawn or lost that game, and it was back to those situations again where Hull just came with a game plan to sit in and try and nullify everything we did and frustrate us, and for large part it worked. There was only very small glimpses throughout the game where I thought we looked dangerous, and everything was sideways and backwards again, and it was very much a case of a very troubled look at the past, yeah.
And Dave, I'll come to you. The manager, obviously, rotation's fair enough. It is what it is, and you kind of accept it when you've got, is it 7 games in 3 weeks, so you have to be careful with the squad. But obviously, Liverpool give Emery Can another goal. I think I'm right in saying Henderson missed out.
Yeah.
What did you think? Obviously, Jordan can't play every single game, but is that something that, without Jordan Henderson in midfield, we don't really have that drive? Can, to an extent, Chan's really good at what I noticed is he carries the ball well, but I don't know, without Henderson in the middle of the park, do we lack that little bit of drive and that sometimes you need to beat this type of team, or was that just one of numerous factors, do you think, that led to us not being able to get the win?
I think it's just one of numerous factors, really. I think I read somewhere that Henderson's got a few niggles at the moment, so I suppose he can't really be blamed for leaving Henderson out. Chan does a sort of similar-ish job. He's not as acclimated to the club, obviously. It's only his second ever start. He does drive well, as he said. I wouldn't put it all down on Henderson, because I'm not sure Henderson, aside from a few games, has actually been that amazing this season. He's looking to get into the box a bit more, but he's just been a bit sloppy. I thought he was yesterday as well. And I think it is more the movement up front that, rather than anything in midfield. Other than that, I'd say maybe there was just a lack of creativity. We could have put Coutinho and Lallana in, I thought, maybe instead of Can, and just gone for a bit more flair when Hull were obviously going to look to sort of sit back. And as we said before, it was a sort of glimpse where we huffed of a few seasons ago where we just sort of huffed and puffed, and maybe a few more creative players in that midfield would have helped.
Yeah, Jason, I'll come to you next, mate. Welcome to the show, by the way. After Coutinho done pretty well against QPR for 1 week, it obviously was what it was and happened, but in terms of Coutinho being in the team, was you surprised he wasn't? Because he's probably been Liverpool, I'd argue, over the last couple of weeks, and again we'll get to Swansea later on. He's probably been our best player over a couple of weeks after an indifferent start, and I understand you again rest and rotation, whatever, but it was a little bit surprising that he didn't start. Would you agree?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think since he's come back from international duty, he's been reinvigorated by it, and he looks like the Coutinho that we were all excited about. I think the start of the season he's been missing a bit of his magic, and then when he came back again, looks like the player that we all love. And I was surprised that he didn't play, because what we missed in the match against Hull was that bit of magic, the bit of creativity. So I think Coutinho is now key, and any games going forward, he's going to be essential for us.
And I'll stick with you, Jason. Balotelli again's been in he's always in the news. I don't think we're ever going to get away from that, unfortunately, rightly or wrongly. He is what he is, and he's a lightning rod for media and scrutiny, what have you, and he divides the fan base. I'm pretty sure you'll agree. On his own up front, can he do that job, Jace, or do you think obviously when Lambert comes on he looks much, much better? Do you think it is?
He definitely.
Is a case of
Sorry, Steve.
Is it a case that he needs someone with him, or because as a lone striker, I think we'd all agree it hasn't really clicked for him, but he looks much, much better. Obviously, Spurs away, he done well with Sturridge. He looked all right. I think it was Southampton. Sorry, it was and again he looked decent on against Swansea with Barini buzzing around him. So is it a case that he just needs a partner with him?
I think he does. It's been proven now, I think, over the 11 games or so that he's been involved in, that it just doesn't work when he's up front on his own. He's not a target man. I think he likes to move around a lot more, and he's definitely benefited any time we've got somebody up front with him. When Lambert was up with him in the Swansea game, not in the Swansea game, in the game before. I think he's been, he's really, really benefited from having a second striker. And when he came on yesterday, and you saw the goal, you saw him linking up with Barini. I think he definitely needs that partner up.
Yep, I agree, mate. I agree. He does definitely need a partner. And Oz, I'll come to you. What side of the fence do you fall on the Balotelli? It seems everyone, he's a bit Marmite, isn't he? People love him, people hate him. What's your thoughts on him? Because he has been, like I say, he's been very up and down, and he's shone in bits, but then he's looked really, really woeful at other times. Is it a case of settling in? Is it the system, or is it just that's the type of player he is? We're going to have to accept that he's a bit of a maverick, and we're going to have to take what we can get.
I've been on both sides of the fence with him over the last few weeks, mate. Anyone who'll have watched me match reaction video at Redmen TV, I've kind of hammered him after that. And in hindsight, it was probably a bit over the top of the hammering I did give him. You can't see, mate. He is trying, and it's hard because he becomes a completely different player when he has got a partner up front with him. He links up really well, no matter who it's been up to the last few games when we've given him a partner, whether it be Barini, but Lambert late on against Hull, or even when Gerrard pushed up in one of the earlier games, he linked up really well. And he's never going to be a player that runs the channels as much as we want him to be that player who runs in behind, and he's never going to do that for us. So the quicker the majority of our fan base accept that, the quicker everyone will accept Balotelli for what he is. And I do think he's got a lot more to offer than what we've seen so far. That goes without saying. We've seen nowhere near the best of him. And I'm just hoping that a goal last night will hopefully lift the spirits, and hopefully I think Barini's earned a shot. I know we'll talk about Newcastle a bit later, but he's earned a shot to start with him on Saturday, and we will see the best out of him. Yeah,
and Dave, I'll let you finish the trio. Really, we've discussed we've all discussed Balotelli. What have your thoughts been on him? And in that whole game in particular, he looked lost for a while, didn't he? He wasn't, he looked a bit isolated. We got people around him, and then obviously that chance at the end, you really want your striker scoring that goal, don't you? In hindsight, I know it wasn't the easiest chance in the world, but he probably, well, I say probably, he does. He needs to score that goal. He needs to, he's your main man. He needs to win you the 3 points there, and it was disappointing that, he felt him and that he couldn't convert.
Yeah, he's a man who looks, certainly until yesterday, looked so much under pressure to get a goal. I thought, in general, his decision-making was better against Hull. It seemed like his mind wasn't quite as cluttered, and he's linking up with people well. But that chance at the end, he certainly does have to bury that. There are a couple of other chances as well. That one with the cross, where he sort of half-heartedly tried to dive for the header. He just seemed to be second-guessing himself every time he got the ball in the box. And until yesterday, I was really worried that he would go on a long goal drought just because he's so lacking in confidence and just trying too hard to score, really. But overall, I think he is a big talent. I think there are definite flashes there. And people, especially the media, who wrote him off after the Real Madrid game, I thought it was just absolutely ridiculous. They're saying, oh, he's blown his big chance at a big club, he's never coming back now. And it's like, well, at that point he'd played 9 games for Liverpool. I don't know how you can hammer him that much in a team that is struggling all round as well. Obviously, he's got to do better, and hopefully with the goal yesterday he can. But to write him off so early into the season is ridiculous. I mean, Henry, in his first 8 games, I think he had no goals and no assists. Just at this stage of the season, you cannot write him off, and I think Rodgers is actually handling him quite well. Just sort of keeping faith in him, saying he's working hard, and hopefully we'll see the benefits. But yeah, in front of goal, he's got to be clinical, especially until Sturridge comes back. We need him to sharpen up there, but hopefully, as I said yesterday, the signs are that he can do that.
Yes, let's certainly hope so, mate. And again, Jace, I'll come to you. Not only Coutinho comes on, the manager brings Lambert on as well. And again, Lambert's one of these guys. Again, he's been getting a bit of criticism, and he obviously hasn't got a goal yet for Liverpool, which obviously looks like it's weighing on him. But once again, Lambert showed that without affecting the game dramatically, he has showed what he can do. He's good at dropping into space, and he let Mario drift around and stuff. And again, I was mentioning Barini, who played well against Swansea, and Lambert done not great. He done all right, but do you think the criticism of Lambert's been justified, or again is it being a bit over the top? What are your thoughts on how he's performed so far? Because, like I say again, he's our backup striker, and when our main guy goes out, you probably want to lean on him slightly. And it looks at the moment like Brendan's not quite sure whether he's ready and whether he trusts him.
Yeah, it's a difficult one with Lambert, I think, because initially the first couple of games that I saw him, he just he looked overawed. He looked like the fan that he is. Completely just shocked that he was even there and not playing to the potential that he's got. And I think slowly but surely, the more games that he's been playing, then he's starting to show glimpses of the the top quality player that we know that he is. He's not world class, he is what he is, but he's been brought in as a backup striker, and I know Sturridge is made of glass, but we probably weren't expecting to see so much of Lambert. I also think though he's used to playing a lot more regularly, and he probably is the kind of player who benefits from a few games. He's come into Liverpool, completely different style, completely different pressure, and he's been playing cameo roles. And so probably by the time he's warmed up into the game, the final whistle's been blown. So I don't think it's been overly justified. I think it's been justified to a point, but I don't think he's been as bad as everyone makes out. And once he gets that first goal, I think we'll really start to see the best of him.
Yeah, I certainly hope so, mate. Certainly hope so. Fingers crossed that's what comes of it. Oz, I'll come to you, Oz. Joe Allen's he wasn't fit, was he? He's obviously come back into the side, and we all thought he'd be key. And he looks half a yard short, if I'm honest, Oz, doesn't he? At the minute, I'm not sure he's right back up there. And again, I was surprised it took the manager till 60 to make the change and bring Coutinho on. Maybe it could have been made, maybe even half time, but. At home to Hull, I'm not sure do you need both Joe Allen and Emre Can and Steve Gerrard. Do you need those three, or like Dave mentioned earlier, we had Lallana on it, but Sterling's a great player, but do you reckon you could sacrifice one of those more solid three players for a little bit more creativity? Maybe, like say, you chose to rest Henderson, but the option to play Coutinho was certainly there. Even Markovic, who again he struggled, but he's more attack-minded. Do you think the manager just was a little bit, after some dodgy results, was just a little bit too cautious of another defeat?
One of my initial thoughts when I seen the side was it looked very unbalanced, to be fair, and that being the reason why we were at home to a side who 99 times out of 100 at home we should be beaten, and to go with 3 defensive-minded midfielders, it was a little bit baffling. And as you said there, Joe Allen, since he's come back, it almost feels to me like he's been rushed back into the side because of how much we were missing his energy, because he may be physically fit, but he looks like he's lacking a bit of match practice and looks a little bit rusty. So maybe it was a bit of a stupid decision really to start Joe Allen, maybe get the game won and then bring Joe Allen on to solidify. But it's all hindsight, mate, isn't it? And it could be a little bit of not fear, but a little bit more cautiousness, as wanting shut out because it's being highlighted so much at the minute, how Liverpool can't keep clean sheets. And maybe the focal point of the game was to keep a clean sheet and then worry about the victory afterwards.
Possibly, yeah. Again, it's certainly one school of thought that you've got. And looking at the game itself, I'll come to you, Dave. It was kind of, I don't know, it played into Hall's hands. I think you'd agree it was stop-start. I don't think the referee was particularly great. I think a few Hull players would have seen yellow cards earlier, but it was very stop-start. Liverpool were very slow. The tempo wasn't there at all for the first hour. It was only once the subs came on, the crowd lifted dramatically so, and the tempo seemed to lift as well. But I don't know, for the first hour, mate, it looked like it was a game that someone just needed to take by the scruff of the neck, and whether it's a lack of confidence, maybe it playing to a game plan, or a little bit of both, who knows? But there wasn't really any Liverpool player just trying to get hold of the ball and thinking, I'm gonna control this game, I'm gonna take over this game. And with Sterling, again, he's only a young lad, and it's hard to expect a lot, especially he's stuck out on the wing, and I don't know if you would agree, he might be able to be that guy if he's brought in centrally. I'm not sure sticking him out wide's really the best place for him at the minute.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'm surprised Rodgers hasn't given him a bit more chance alongside Balotelli to sort of make runs off him as sort of a two up front, really. Yeah, as you said, stuck out wide in a game like that where the other team's sitting back. It's difficult for him because they're always going to double up on him at that point, and then he's going to have to pass the ball, or he's going to have to beat 2 or 3 players to have any impact on the game, and it's difficult for him there. And like you said, for an hour we didn't really have much tempo, but really I think you said people need to grab the game by the scruff of the neck. I think if you look at last season, that was really a collective effort. I mean, last year obviously we had Suarez, but you look at how quickly he'd release the ball, how quickly Henderson would release the ball. They'd all trust each other. They'd all sort of make runs knowing they'd get the ball. They'd 1 and 2 touch passes knowing that the other players are going to give it in back and control it properly in tight areas. And we need to get back to that, really. We need to be a bit braver, which is why getting at Alan and people like that back to fitness is going to be beneficial for us, because we really just need to try and play through these teams. I think we panic a bit too much and go for long shots a bit too quickly. And so maybe a few players like Sterling, like going through the middle and trying to take people on, will be beneficial. But I think as a team, we've got to trust each other, and that's one of the problems with a lot of new players. They need confidence in each other, and we just got to have the tenacity to really stick at a game plan and try and play through teams. And in the long run, it's going to reap its own rewards, I think.
Maybe, mate, yeah, hopefully so. I just think, again, that Jace, I don't know if you agree, I'll come to you, mate. It seems like, as you mentioned before, everything's backwards, everything's sideways. There's no one committing defenders. Coutinho, maybe when he comes on, is trying to beat his man, and I think Sterling tries to do people for pace, and but like I say, there's just no confidence where people think I'm going to stand a man up and I'm going to beat him. Again, Coutinho's doing it, but maybe Lallana could be doing it. Steve Gerrard's certainly good enough to take people on. Emre Can done it once when he drove through midfield. It just seems like there's almost a reluctance to get caught out. Again, maybe it's a lack of confidence in the defence, but it seems like Liverpool aren't really taking risks. I think Dave just summed it up there well. How many pot shots are we having from 25, 30 yards? And it looks like teams are happy to let us do that. It does seem like we're a little bit afraid almost to make that mistake, because, like Ozzy said, we're playing under pressure, and I don't know if you'd agree. It just looks a team that looks like there's a bit of a weight on the shoulders at the minute, and the players are feeling it.
Yeah, to be fair, I think that is very fair. I think there's a real hesitance, and we talk about leadership at the back, but I think there's also a lack of leadership further up the field. Nobody willing to sort of take responsibility, take a risk. It's all well and good taking pot shots from from all over the place, but we've got technically gifted players, and it's not a completely new team. I mean, you obviously take Suarez out and he leaves a massive hole, but there are players in there, technically gifted players, who can take players on. Again, Coutinho, Sterling being another one. The bits and pieces, when Lallana's been on, I think he's shown willing, and he has driven forward a bit more. But I still think you could do with it from Sterling more from Coutinho more. It's harder for Sterling. I think Sterling's best position has been, in the more central number 10 role, and it's been a lot harder for him to affect the play out wide. And again, I don't want to bring things back around to Balotelli specifically, but he seemed isolated up front, and without a partner, he hasn't been able to come and link up with the with the midfielders. So I think collectively and individually, there's just a lack of players being brave enough to take responsibility and take defenders on.
I agree, mate, 100%. I think that was something that was pretty apparent to me when I was watching. I'll come to you just briefly. Liverpool squad and Liverpool summer, it just looks for me, I was like, it's built for a diamond. It's built to play the diamond, and I'm not sure what 4-2-3 at Hull or 4-3-3 at home to Hull doing. If you look, we all think Balotelli's better with a partner. We all think Sterling better at the number 10 position. Why we think Lallana or Coutinho in a midfield, like Coutinho played against Man City, that would suit them more. It just seems like this team is set up for the diamond. And is it basically the case of Rodgers doesn't fancy his striking options, so he's trying to fit as many midfielders in, or again, is it something to do with being solid? I just can't figure out why, having used it against Spurs and albeit against Sturridge's fit, I know Sturridge has gone out. Surely the manager does trust his squad and trust his players to go back to that, and it's a formation that I think it just looks like that's what this team, like before, balance, that would bring better balance to this side.
It is, mate, and I don't know whether it's the manager's stubbornness and persistence to want to stick with a formation that we're seeing a lot more of at the minute with this 4-3-3/4-2-3-1 system, when it seems to be that every fan that I speak to prefers the diamond, wants to see it go with the diamond and go with you up front with Sterling in the 10 role where he's so effective. It screams to me, mate, that there's a lack of trust in personnel or what he's got at his disposal at the minute, and maybe it scream at some of the signings, maybe were committee signings and he's trying to make a bit of a point. I don't know, mate. I hope that's not the case, and I think once we see the return of Sturridge, I think we will go back to the diamond, mate, because it's so effective when he plays, and we've seen it in his last game against Spurs, and especially him and Balotelli up front, the promise that looked like it was going to bring. So it's very surprising that we haven't experimented more with it while Sturridge is being out, which to me just makes me think that it is a lack of trust in the players that he's got left at his disposal.
Yeah, to me, it looks that way to me. If I'm honest, it just looks like he's desperate for Barini or Lambert to be able to step up and fill that role. And again, both Barini especially play pretty well against Swansea, and we'll touch that in a minute. Before we move on, Dave, I'll come to you very quickly. The league table is what I think Liverpool are joint fifth, or seventh on goal difference. We're only 3 points behind Man City. Chelsea are flying. Chelsea are 9 points clear already, but we're level with Arsenal. We're above United. We're above Tottenham. We're above Everton. For as bad a start as it's been, the fact that everyone else has been pretty crap as well. We're not cut adrift. It isn't, like a few years ago when we were seventh, but we were miles behind in the fourth place team. I mean, Southampton and West Ham have been great, don't get me wrong, but I'm not sure they're going to be able to sustain that challenge. So, in theory, Liverpool are right in this mix, aren't they? And again, I think a league title challenge is very unrealistic at this stage. I think Chelsea are probably far too good, and maybe City. But I suppose we can all take a little bit of solace in the fact that despite being pretty crap at times. I mean, QPR at home was one of the worst. QPR the first half was one of the worst performances I've ever seen from a Liverpool side, and the fact we've been that bad and we've dropped points at home and that we're in touching distance, it is almost not a positive, I suppose. Well, it isn't a disaster, I suppose, the fact that everyone else has been equally as crap, and that I suppose it's almost become a race to who can get good first and who can go on a Chelsea-style run maybe and distance themselves. And hopefully, do you think this Liverpool side is built to go and win 5, 6, 7 on the run?
I think we are. I mean, as said, a lot of times we got a fair amount of new players, especially up top. We're missing our best player by some distance, I would say, Sturridge. Just only because Sterling looks a bit tired at the moment, and There's nobody really to replace Sturridge, which is the big problem. I think if Sterling were to go out, we'd have a few more options. But as you said, we sort of got out of jail somehow with City even being a bit rubbish, although they were at the start of last season as well, and then just turned into a juggernaut later. United are obviously a massive work in progress and just sort of a lot of random parts. The interesting team is probably Arsenal, because there's really no reason they should be so bad except for the fact they signed no defenders, because they signed a proper striker and they got a world-class player in Sanchez and seem to be going backwards. So compared to the other teams we're challenging with, we seem to have a really good chance of getting into the top four despite how bad we've been, because there have been flashes here and there that we're going to get better. Maybe with the new keeper in January or a bit of reinforcement, we could really sort of turn into a force, especially if we wrap Sturridge in cotton wool and he can bang in 20 goals. We seem like it in a good position, and hopefully the rest of the teams continue to be a bit rubbish.
Yeah, fingers crossed, mate. I think if you can ever rely on anything, you can rely on Arsenal to finish fourth. So maybe we're all looking for third place, and I think we'd all bite your hand off for third or fourth at the moment, the way things have gone so far. And I think that would be, with all the flux that's happened, you'd probably class that as a good season. So as up and down and as poor as Liverpool have been at times, I think really we've only played really well once at home in the league this year. Once in the league this year, and it was probably Tottenham away. Everything else has been a little bit hit and miss. We played all right against Everton, I suppose, and we were done by a worldie. But I guess you can take solace in the fact that we are within touching distance. We're level with Arsenal and above a few rivals. The fact, despite being pretty crap at times. Right, we'll move on then. We'll park all where it is. Actually, before we do, I'd just like to say I don't think enough of our fans give credit to Hull. Hull played very well. They defended really well, and sometimes you've got to hold your hands up and say the opposition done a job. I think sometimes it can be too easy to slag your own players and your own team off, but they went to Arsenal the week before and got a point and probably should have won, and they've done a job on Liverpool, and fair play to them. They're entitled to do it, and I do think sometimes you can lose focus in that. That's just my thoughts anyway. My little get on my soapbox. So we'll move on. We'll leave that now, and we'll go to the Swansea game. Swansea in the cup. We left it late. Liverpool left it late again. Something that they're doing, making a habit of. Again, it's not free flowing football at times, and it can be a bit dogged at times, and it can get a little bit back to the wall and a little bit desperate. But at the end of the day, Liverpool are in the quarterfinals of a cup competition now. And as I'll come to you, it was a strange game. I thought because I thought Liverpool played really, really well in the first half, and again in 2/3 I thought they defended pretty well. I thought the midfield, Coutinho in particular, were pulling strings, and we had Swansea, all over the place, especially for the first 40. I'd say I think Swansea ended the first half pretty well, but again it just showed me this team just compared to I know I keep saying it, compared to last year where we just looked like we'd score every time we went forward. This Liverpool team looks like it really hasn't got that many goals in it at present, and I suppose when you're dominating games like they were yesterday, you really need to put one or two of those chances away, because it can come back and bite you in the arse, and it almost did.
Really, I agree, mate, totally. We started the game really well, probably the best I've seen us start a game this season, and the bit more of that free-flowing football was there, the passing and moving was back, there was people looking for the ball all the time and a lot of options on the ball. Coutinho was, for the first half hour, 40 minutes, was completely out of this world, mate. He was untouchable, they couldn't get near him. He's dropping the shoulder and beating his man, he was awesome, mate. And watching the game first half, I thought, yeah, this could be the kickstart to our season here with this performance. And then it sort of just petered out towards the end of the first half, and the fans started getting a little bit edgy and on the players back because the goal weren't coming, and you could visibly see it in the players, mate, that the little bit of confidence we started the game with was starting to drain out of them, because obviously we'd had the game plan and it looked like it was to go out and get the early goal to try and settle us down. And the longer it went without us getting that goal, it seemed like we started getting a bit nervy. And it just felt like that was the whole feeling around towards the end of the first half. And then moving into the second half, obviously, at the first 15-20 minutes of it, I thought we were pretty poor, and it was back to everything that we'd seen so far this season. But very early on in that first half, mate, there was really some promising signs that going forward things could change for us.
Yeah, it looked like they were creating a lot and or they were doing a lot of neat work, tidy work, but without really threatening Swansea's goalie. And again, it did come back and bite us. And Jace, I'll come to you. There was a school of thought that said Liverpool possibly could have kept Mignolet in goal and kept Skate on Lovren at the back, just to get more time playing together as a centre back and goalkeeper unit. But the manager decided to bring Torre in. He brought Brad Jones in, and I thought Jones done all right. To be fair, I think he was solid enough. He didn't do too badly. But in terms of their goal, the Lovren Torre partnership again, it just seems like as well. I thought both had a decent-ish game and they both done all right. But there's just every Liverpool performance, there just seems to be that one mistake that other teams are just really capitalising on. And it was a very good finish. Don't get me wrong. By I think it was Emnes, but Torre and Lovren were miles apart from each other. One was stepping up, one was back deep. It just looked like a bit of a mess, and it looked like two guys who had hardly played together, which they haven't. Were you surprised in the first place that he did make the changes there? And then, obviously, what were your thoughts on the goal?
In the one sense, because Skirtle has been the mainstay for us, so yeah, I was surprised, but I just thought, well, we've been so poor defensively. You've got an experienced centre back in Toure who hasn't been playing, so I think that the Rodgers was probably saying, well, look, we'll give something else a try, we'll give somebody else a try. See if if Toure and Lovren do click, see if they hit it off as a partnership, and then give him something to think about, give him a potential headache going into the Newcastle game. And I mean, to be fair, I did think for the majority, they looked tidy. But as you say, regarding the goal, as good a finish as it was, just as soon as that goal happened, we all thought, here we go again. For every little mistake, and that may not be the way throughout the entire season, but yeah, it just doesn't breed any confidence, no matter what centre back pairing. You're always on tender hooks, looking at them, almost waiting for them to make the one mistake, and then it's just not a surprise, which is Brad Jones, was he did where I was really unimpressed with him. But again, I don't expect him to start against Newcastle. This is where he gets his games, in the cup competition. And I fully expect, Mignolet to be restored to number one. But yeah, I mean, again, you just thought it was same old. When that goal went in, I fully expected us to lose. So it was a nice surprise when we turned it around the way we did.
Yeah, it definitely was, mate. I agree. It was always nice to come from behind and win, and it's not something that Liverpool tended to do a lot this year anyway, is it really? And Dave, I'll come to you on one before we get to the goals. Just a quick shout out for Glenn Johnson playing left back. He come back into the team, and I know a lot of people really, really don't like Glenn Johnson. And for a while, I think I said last year, he definitely deserves to be dropped. But he has come back in, and I don't know about you, mate. It might just be me, and I might be wrong, but he looks like someone who's playing pretty well, either left back or right back at the minute. He's still got that, the hiccup in him, I suppose, but again, all Liverpool defenders have. But he looks calm. He looks quite collected. He looks cool on the ball, and his defending, I think, he's getting better. It isn't world class, and you probably do expect more, but there are signs there that he is improving from last season, because at times he couldn't really be worse. But it is a positive sign that we can still. It looks like we can still rely on Johnson, and again, the future is going to be what it is, and whether he stays or goes. But it looks like the manager really trusts him and backs him to do well. And to be fair, Johnson looks like he's delivering.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think he always looks better at left back for some reason, especially defensively. I don't know if that's just because he has to pay a bit more attention because he's not as used to it, but seems a bit tighter at the moment, especially than he was before. I think I've got better opinion of Johnson than most people, in the fact that I do think he actually is a useful player when he's playing well, especially when he is marauding down the flanks, and he can take people on, which he seems to be sort of losing rapidly at the moment. But as you said, as he come back in, we've seen Manquillo have... I thought he was excellent yesterday, Manquillo, but he is inexperienced, and you see it in some games. And so having Johnson back and looking more alert, I think he's fitter as well, because last season, in some of his more horrendous performances, to be fair to him, he was playing through a few injuries. So if he keeps fit, which is a big if with him, and if he does pay attention properly, he is an asset for us, because he can defend properly when he chooses to, and he is good going forward. And as you said, Rodgers does trust him a lot, and I think it's not without reason. And hopefully, if he sort of stays fit and paying attention, he can be a big asset for us, because Manquillo is going to be really up and down. So hopefully, he just stays on it and keeps up his good form recently.
And another player, Oz, who's divides opinion, or has divided opinion in the past, Barini got his chance. I think everyone was slightly surprised, to be honest, but I certainly was anyway. I thought the manager just didn't fancy him, and he was trying to get him out of the club. But to be fair to Barini, he done what he does, what he kind of does. He lacks a little bit of quality at times, but he's very tenacious, and you see glimpses. I think the turn and shot that he had was very unlucky, and he then obviously sets the goal up for Balotelli. What did you think of Barini's performance, and does he have a future? Is it a case of shop window, putting him in the shop window? I don't know, because we seen him at West Ham, I think, didn't we? And we saw him at Villa briefly at the Villa game, and he did nothing. West Ham, again, he was disappointing. But last night he did show that there's definitely a play there, and maybe it could be useful for us.
Early on in the game, mate, I thought he was pretty terrible, to be honest, because, and I pointed out on Twitter, not to any fault of his own, it was Rodgers playing a footballer out of position again when he stuck him out wide on the right. He's not designed to play there, mate. I know he'd done a job for Sunderland out on the left a lot of the time, but all his best work for Sunderland, and whenever we've seen Barini play well, it's been centrally and through the middle, and towards the middle stages of the first half and in the second half, when he popped up centrally, I thought he was brilliant, mate. His touch looked fantastic. He wanted to be very positive and run our players, and he was looking to get shots off, and there was a few occasions where he really had the keeper worried, and that's a lot more that can be said for a lot of the other players that we had on the pitch. He just seemed to be making things happen, mate, and I think there was at one stage in the first half he was geeing the fans up, giving it the old fist pumps and that to the fans to try and get the fans going, and he's showing how much he really wanted to work, mate, and fair play to him. A lot of people, yourself included, hammered him in the summer for digging his heels in and refusing to move to Sunderland for what was ridiculous fee. But if a player wants to dig in and wants to prove that he wants to be here and he wants to fight for his future, then if he's going to come in and give a performance like he did last night, and not the performances that we've seen on other occasions where he's been given a chance, then fair play to him. But I mean, I think going forward, I think he may have earned his chance to have a start on Saturday up front with Balotelli and see where it goes in I wouldn't say more meaningful game, but in a game where three Premier League points are on the line and there's more pressure. So I think in that sense of the way that he's earned his chance. But long term, I think once Sturridge comes back into the side, I think we kind of know Brendan Rodgers' feelings towards it. And unfortunately for Barini, regardless of what he does going forward, I don't see a long-term future for him, but he could be a very handy player in the next month or so until we get Daniel Sturridge back on the pitch.
Again, mate, he is showing little glimpses here and there, and Jason, I'll come to you. The goal itself, it was a good ball, and it was the run that people have been desperate to see Mario Balotelli make. We know he's got it, and we know he can do it, and it was great to see him. He gets in front of his defender, he gets the outlet, the stretch, and it's a very good goal, to be fair. It was a good ball and a good goal, and it was nice to see that he's linked up with someone, and maybe the manager does look at it and think maybe he's got something there. But it was great to see those two players in particular who've had the struggles just click for that one moment and produce a real piece of quality that unbecoming of the game almost up to that point in terms of getting the ball in the back of the net. It didn't look like it was coming.
No, to be completely honest, I couldn't see it coming, and I, like everybody else, was delighted, surprised, and delighted for Balotelli. but also for Barini, it was a quality cross, absolute quality cross, absolute perfect for a poacher, and I mean it was on a plate, but still Balotelli had to put it away, and I mean, it happened in a split second, but I did think afterwards. Well, maybe he had he might have had the miss running through his mind. He'd missed a sitter recently, so it was a big relief for more than one reason when the ball hit the back of the net. And again, I agree totally with Ozzy. I think Barini's earned his opportunity to. And then hopefully, the hope is over the next few weeks that that they'll build up a good rapport. But it remains to be seen. Nothing's guaranteed at the moment. Hopefully, this will be the catalyst for a good run of form for the team. But also a potential partnership with Barini and Balotelli. But it's with us. The one thing's for sure is that nothing's for sure.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say, mate. We are very difficult to predict at the moment, aren't we? Definitely. Dave, I'll come to you on the final goal. It all got a bit weird. It was a very frantic ending to the game. Balotelli and Shelvey were having words. I don't know, Balotelli ended up on the floor. I don't know what happened there. And then he's up, and then he's giving stick. And then next minute, Coutinho's got the ball. He's running. And to be fair, when I first saw the challenge, it didn't look great. But I wasn't sure who fouled who. I thought that looks a bit iffy. That I wasn't sure if Coutinho had done it. Maybe he'd done Coutinho. The ref decided that the guy had injured Coutinho and two-footed him. The replay showed it probably wasn't even a foul. Never mind the red card. So I suppose we can count ourselves slightly fortunate in the fact that it not only a foul, but and the free kick that led to the goal and the red card and the confusion that it caused. It just seemed like, I don't know, a slice of luck. I know, fair play to Coutinho for committing his man and stuff, but it was a little slice of luck, and maybe that's just something we needed, because I don't know about you, but I think it's debatable whether it was a foul, and I certainly don't think it was a red card.
Yeah, I thought it was a massive slice of luck. I mean, I don't think it affected the outcome of the 90 minutes that much, except for we're going to put them under pressure for injury time, but I agree with you. I mean, I can't be too hard on the ref, because at first glance, albeit on a pretty rubbish stream, I thought it was a two-footed tackle by Fernandes, I think it was. So I thought it was a red card straight away, and so I can't really hammer the ref too much for a mistake I would have made. But it was a perfectly fine tackle. He can count himself very unlucky, and I suppose they'll be looking to appeal it. But yeah, maybe you're right. It is the kind of luck we need. I mean, the final goal was lucky in itself. I mean, I'm sure we'll come on to that, but yeah, sometimes when it's not going your way, sometimes you need a slice of luck, and hopefully a lot of people on Twitter were saying maybe that's just the kind of comeback we need to sort of kickstart our season a bit and give us a bit of confidence, and hopefully we can do that.
Fingers crossed. Maybe hopefully it's not a false dawn. I'll come to you. Yeah, their goalie decides to do a great Sam Mignolet impression, or even worse, and come flapping for the ball. He got nowhere near. Lovren, knocks it in, and fair play to him. He looks very emotional when he scores. He's made up. Good for him. He's had a difficult start as well. One thing we can say what this side does, it has got character. It has got bollocks. If you think QPR a late goal, Ludogorets a late goal, West Brom, I don't think it was fairly late, wasn't it? It wasn't injury time or not, but it was fairly late on. And obviously yesterday, it is a goal. It is a team that it doesn't give up. We don't stop. We don't throw the towel in. We do keep going. And like I say, it was a terrible bit of goalkeeping on Lovren. Well, I think I might have had a chance of scoring that, but it's nice to see that they don't give up. They do carry on. And even Balotelli having a bit of needle in the last minute, it does show that despite the lack of quality at times and cohesiveness and tempo, I don't think people can say that this Liverpool team aren't giving it their all. I think that's they're leaving it all on the pitch, aren't they? I'd say.
I think it was a massive answer to all those who were doubting the team spirit and the togetherness in the squad. A lot of people are saying it's gone from last season and stuff, and everyone's saying it. The celebrations after the second goal and at the end of the game were a bit embarrassing because it's only the Carling Cup. That's bollocks, mate. It's absolute bollocks. This is a team that's struggling, and from a team that almost won the league last year and to the position and the performances we've seen so far, it's not only a bitter pill to swallow for the fans, mate. If we're feeling bad, people are saying footballers don't care and stuff. Of course they care. And so if it feels bad to us, mate, for me it's going to feel worse to them. And the emotion from not just from Lovren after the goal, but the whole team, it was an answer to me, mate, that they're up for a fight. And as you've just said there's a few times now in the last couple of weeks where we've shown a little bit of character that we thought was lacking, and hopefully that's going to be the catalyst to what could be the lift in the season we need. We're into the quarterfinals of a cup competition. Yeah, probably last on the list of priorities for us, but we're 3 games away from Wembley now. We can't draw tonight, and we get through to the semi-finals, a day out at Wembley, and hopefully a trophy in the cabinet. So people need to just fucking lift the doom and gloom on everything that's surrounding us at the minute, and hopefully that I heard the raw me from the ground after the goal and the final whistle. It just felt a little bit different again, and like things are starting to turn for us.
Yeah, just to clarify what Ozzy said there, we are recording Wednesday night, so the draw obviously hasn't been made. If you're listening to this retrospectively, then there's a good chance that you know who we've got, and it might be that we've got Chelsea away, who knows, but there are 3 at the moment non-Premier League teams in there. Brighton are currently drawing with Spurs, so maybe they get in, who knows, and you'll know that, but there is a chance that you could be a home game against a lower division side away from a cup semi-final, and again, like I say, it is the 4th priority, but again, it's a competition that, you know, the manager's never won anything. He'll be desperate to win a piece of silverware, I think, and fingers crossed that Liverpool can get to a final and win it. It's certainly been nice. We'll move on now to Newcastle, but before we do, just a couple of quick things I need to plug or whatever, or to talk about. First of all, if you go to the TBT Twitter page after TBT, there's a competition there in association with Bass Buds. You can win some Liverpool headphones and a good set of speakers. All you got to do is retweet the tweet, go over there, enter that for us, and I say come in with a chance of winning a nice prize. We try and give as much stuff away as we can. Some freebies away. We all love a freebie, I do especially. So when we get our chance to give it away, we'll always try and do it. So I say get over to at the Theorist and just retweet that tweet and get yourself in the hat to try and win the prize. While you're there on our Twitter, if you notice, we have been nominated in the FBA Awards. I think it's for the best young football blog of the year. It's quite surprising that, you know, I'm a guy in his mid-20s and saying that we're going for the best young blog, but it isn't. It's because the guys who own it, you know, as everyone knows, the ex-host of this show, Harry, he fell into the age category. He owns the website, so we are eligible for the best young football blog. And again, speaking of nights out and stuff, we get to go for a nice piss up. So while we're there, it'd be nice if we can win. So if you could just, there's a tweet there that you just have to copy and paste, and if you tweet that for us, be very, very much appreciated. So again, get over to Twitter, enter the competition, vote for us in the FBAs, and be very, very grateful for you to doing that again. So that's that bit done. We'll move on. Newcastle is the Saturday morning kickoff. Whether that's a good or bad thing, I'm not sure. I suppose looking at the Madrid game ahead of it, it gives you a little bit more time to prepare. But Saturday morning away games, I don't think are ever easy.
Afternoon.
Well, Saturday afternoons, it's 1 o'clock and 1:30. It's as close to the morning as you're going to get. I said before, it's probably morning someone. It's morning for someone somewhere else. Someone's getting up early to watch it, but you are right, it is Saturday. It's early afternoon. And it's Newcastle away. Newcastle have just come into some form, Dave. I think it's fair that, you know, they looked terrible for a while and the manager was really under pressure, but in the last couple of games, you know, I think they beat Spurs, and currently as we speak again, I haven't got the latest, but we'll see in hindsight, but they are winning against Man City in the Cup again. That could change by the time people listen to this. It could have ended up 6-1, but they're obviously showing that they're not a bad side, and it's not the easiest game for a team like ourselves. To be honest, I'm not sure if any game would be particularly easy at the moment with the form we've been in the league, but it's kind of like it is a game where you think, you know, crikey, we're going to have to play pretty well to win there. I think last year we drew, and we were pretty much at the peak of our powers, weren't we? We were flying almost, and we got a draw there, so it's not going to be easy for us to go and steamroll them. A couple of weeks ago it looked like maybe we could have done that, but now they've had to beat Tottenham, they beat Leicester, I think. They got a draw at Swansea, which wasn't the worst result in the world. I think lost to Stoke, but they beat knocked Palace out the cup before that, so they're not doing too badly. It's a game that Liverpool are going to have to, you know, you're not going to be able to dog this one. I don't think if you play like we did against QPR, we're winning this one. So they are certainly going to have to improve, and it's going to be a difficult game.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. For a lot of this season, we seem to have played teams who are weirdly in form. Like, we played Villa when they were actually decent and had decided to actually score goals and be decent at football. It's quite odd. Even Southampton at the start of the season you thought would be a walkover, and their team sort of seems to have gelled pretty much instantly. We're going to have to play pretty decently. I hope, as we've all said, that we play a diamond, and I think Barini's definitely earned his chance. Hopefully Coutinho plays as well, and he gets a chance to extend his good form. I don't know if he'd come in for Lallana if you want a bit more steel in the midfield away from home. But yeah, you're right. Newcastle have been playing quite decently, and we're not going to just absolutely batter them like we possibly could have done a couple of weeks ago. But they're not. I watched them against Tottenham, and they're still not that special. Tottenham just seem to take advantage of Eric Dier just being absolutely knackered, and especially for that first goal straight from kickoff. They're still very limited, and if we defend properly, which is a big if, we should be able to come away with a good result. But as you said, we are going to have to play half decently, because Newcastle are at least try. For their manager, as bad as he seems, they always seem to try and come back in games and give their all. So we're going to have to play well for 90 minutes, but I'm pretty confident we can get a result.
Fingers crossed, mate. It would be nice, wouldn't it? Again, it is something, again, people keep saying false dawn and stuff, but maybe the Swansea result is the kick up the arse, and a win away at Newcastle might really get us rolling. And between us, I think I've done this a couple of weeks ago, and I think it's something we'll do again. We'll try and pick a team that we would not necessarily we think the manager will pick, but one that we'll, between us, if we were picking the team we'd go for. So I think everyone agrees, as great as Brad Jones' hair is and as good as he played against Swansea, I think we're all bringing Mignolet back in through gritted teeth, but Mignolet plays. So Jace, first I'd come to you. I imagine if the manager's going to pick Skrtel and Lovren, would that be how you'd go? Saka obviously we think isn't fit. Torre maybe got himself in contention. How would you go in terms of centre halves?
If it were me personally, Torre and Lovren looked decent yesterday, and so if it were me, I would, I'd give them another go. I think, Skrtel and Lovren have had plenty of games together. Again, I don't think Torre did anything particularly bad to warrant being dropped. But I don't expect, I don't expect him to play. So on the one side, I would choose, Torre to go alongside Lovren myself for my sins. But I think it'll be Lovren and Skrtel starting at centre back.
Sound well again, not so much what we think is going to happen. We'll go for what we want. So, Oz, are you picking Lovren and Torre, or Skrtel getting a game? What would you do?
Well, I'd put Skrtel back in, to be honest, mate, because if going forward over the season, we all know that Brendan Rodgers' preferred choices, Skrtel and Lovren. So the more they play together, mate, and we've all seen them mistakes, and it seems to be time and again between whether it's them or whether it's the goalkeeper. But the only way it's going to get better, mate, is if they stay on the pitch together and continue to play together. So for me, Skrtel comes back in, definitely.
So Dave, I'm guessing you're getting the cast and vote, mate.
All right, I'm going Skrtel Lovren then. Sorry, Jason, but I can't in a good faith pick Kolo Torre for a match that actually matters. He's just too accident prone, and I think Skrtel and Lovren did well against Hull, so they deserved another chance together.
No, that's fair enough.
Yes, but I guess okay. So we've got Mignolet in goal, we've got Skrtel, and we've got Lovren. Are we going obviously full backs? We'll get to the midfield and the strikers and formation in a bit. I'm presuming we're playing four at the back. So right, we need full backs. Oz, we need a left back and a right. But your options you can play. You've got Moreno, Johnson, and Manquillo. I think that's pretty much it. Any two of those three, Johnson can do either job. So what's your partnership there? Moreno and Manquillo, I'm guessing.
No, mate, I'm going Moreno Johnson. I think Moreno's had his break. He's had his rest in the midweek, so he'll definitely come back in. and I think Johnson, since he's come back in, mate, he's although not being the Glenn Johnson of old that we all loved in his early Liverpool career, but he's showing some glimpses of getting back towards that, and I think he's, especially in an away game, I think he could be a bit of more use to us than the Manquillo. So personally, I'd go Johnson, Moreno.
Just to pull you up on there, mate, or just to ask you something there about Moreno. Obviously, everyone remembers. I think we all remember the Spurs goal, and we can see what he can do. But he has been in and out of the side. What have you made of him since that game? Is he getting a little bit of a free ride because of the goal and what we know he can do? Is he? Do you think he's playing well, or what do you think?
I don't think he's been superb, mate, but I don't think he's done a hell of a lot wrong, if I'm honest. He's been a typical part of what we've been as a team, and yeah, sometimes there's a bit of naivety where he gets caught out of position and stuff, but that's been the whole back line, hasn't it, over the course of the game. It hasn't just been Moreno, but it's a little bit weird to me why it's him who's been the rotational one in the back four at the moment, and I don't know whether that's Rodgers doubting him in any way whatsoever, but I don't think he's done a hell of a lot wrong, but a lot of people have fucking say he set the world on fire. He certainly hasn't done that, well, not for me anyway, but he's ticked along. That's the best way I can put it. He's just ticked along.
Yep, fair enough. So Ozzy's going for Johnson and Moreno. Jason, who would your fullbacks be?
I think it'll be the same. I do agree with Ozzy. I think Rodgers is protecting Moreno and trying to nurse him in well, and so he is resting him, he is rotating him, but I think he's given him opportunity to adapt. And I know Spurs goal aside, he hasn't been spectacular, but I've got to be honest, I don't really want him to be spectacular. At the moment, I want him to come in, do a job, do it well, settle in nicely, and then as and when we're riding on the crest of a wave, then I think there's plenty of opportunity for him to stand out in an attacking sense. Defensively, I've been really impressed with Manquillo, but again, I think Rodgers is protecting him, and rightly so. He's younger and he's less of an accomplished player than Moreno, so I think Rodgers is almost doing the flip with him, whereas he's protecting Moreno and keeping him out of certain games, but trying to keep him fresh for what he deems as being the really significant games. I think he's trying to nurse Manquillo in, playing him in not the lesser games, if you will, but I think Johnson's experience, and obviously Rodgers does rate Johnson. I think that that still stands out. So Johnson and Moreno for me.
And quickly, Dave, are you in agreement?
Yeah, I think with Manquillo's inexperience, I think Johnson having a bit more know-how will be useful. And on Moreno, I think he has done well. He looks up for the fight defensively, especially against Lukaku in the Everton game, which impressed me with how much he really sort of dug in and did well there. So, as I said, he's been solid, not spectacular, but compared to the other defenders, that's a massive step up, and he can do more in the future. So yeah, Moreno and Johnson.
Yeah, I think we'll all take solid. We'll all take solid, definitely. I think solid's a very big improvement, and shite is how I described the last few weeks. So yeah, the solid's a big step up from shite. Right, we've got to pick a midfield and we've got to pick an attack. I think we're all agreeing earlier on. I think I'm right in saying, I'm going to speak for everyone, that Brini and Balotelli are playing up front as a 2-4ers. I think we all agreed on that earlier. So that leaves us with a midfield 4. So Oz, Gerrard, Henderson, Coutinho, and one other for you.
Yeah, at the beginning of the week, I picked the sides of the 2 games going forward, being Swansea and Newcastle, and in the early part, Coutinho started for me against Swansea, but I wouldn't have started him against Newcastle because I really like Coutinho as an impact player and coming from the bench doing what he did against QPR, but his performance last night, he's worked his way into my side and he's definitely going to be starting, and I think for me it'd be Lallana who's taking his place on the bench, and Gerrard, Henderson, Coutinho, Sterling.
Is that a diamond, Oz?
Yeah, mate, it's got to be. It's the only time throughout every game that we've played so far this season when we switched it up to the diamond. It's the only time we've looked really dangerous. So it definitely in Sterling in the 10 role and Coutinho, Henderson either side with Gerrard at the base of it.
On paper, it seems like it's very balanced. It seems like that'd work. Dave, are you in agreement with us there? Are we happy to go with that? Would you make any changes?
The only thing I'd say is maybe Allen for Coutinho if you wanted to be a bit more solid. But as Oz said, with the way Coutinho played on yesterday, we need a bit more creativity. So I think he's worked his way into my side as well, based on that performance. So yeah, I'm in agreement with that.
And Jace?
Yeah, same with me. Same here. I was really pleased to see Alan come back, and I think he is a key player for us. But I really think that we need to go with a diamond, and Coutinho has earned the opportunity to start. I hope we really go for the jugular, try and blow them away quite early on, and then Alan can come on a bit later on to to steady the ship, and and try and keep us solid if that's possible.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. And I'm guessing then if you look strength and depth wise, the bench would be alright, wouldn't it? I imagine you'd have Torre be on there, Manquillo's going to be on there, Lallana will be on there, Lambert, possibly Markovic. So it isn't the worst bench that Liverpool have ever had, considering last year we were bringing Aspas and Moses on. I almost made a joke there when you said Alan was the key. I was going to make an Alan Key kind of joke, but I couldn't think of one, so we'll skip past that. And I don't think I think time's beating us. I don't think we're going to be able to do much on Madrid other than say fingers crossed Madrid away. Hope everyone who goes has a great time. It's a great occasion, and fingers crossed Liverpool, even if we don't bite your hand off for a draw. So let's go over there and see what we can get, and hopefully it goes all right. Not expecting too much, but before we wrap up finally, then Newcastle Oz. It's been an up and down week, but are Liverpool going to travel to St James's? Are they going to win? What do you think is going to happen? What type of game are you expecting?
2 Premier League clean sheets in a week, mate, with a 2-0 win for the Reds.
2-0. Balotelli?
No, I'm going to go Sterling and Coutinho.
Sterling and Coutinho, that would be lovely. Midfield goals, I love a good midfield goal. Jace, what type of match are you expecting, and are you expecting a win?
I'm expecting a win. Not expecting miracles though, so I can't see another clean sheet. I think 2-1 to us. Hopefully, Balotelli. This will be the catalyst for him. So Balotelli and Coutinho with a couple of early goals, and then Newcastle will hit back and make it a nervy last few minutes for us.
Dave, what are you expecting?
I think we'll go ahead relatively early, hopefully. We pressed quite well against Swansea, so hopefully we keep that up. I'm going 3-1 just because I don't see us keeping a clean sheet, and may as well go for a Balotelli hat-trick.
Why the devil not? Why the devil not? Hopefully, I like Balotelli. I want him to walk on the pitch and just piss somebody off. And it seems like it gets him going. That's what I want him to do. I want him to just go on to their defender, if it's Colacini, and just pull his hair or something. Just piss him off and get wound up all game, and then put him to the sword. Fingers crossed he can do it. Well, that pretty much wraps it up, guys. Thanks everyone for listening. I do appreciate you tuning in. Like I said, get onto the Twitter feed, enter the competition. Please vote for us if you're kind enough to do so. That's pretty much it. So thanks Ozzy, thanks Dave, thanks Jason. Thanks for listening, everybody. And fingers crossed that Liverpool can go to Newcastle and get 3 points. Go to the Bernabeu and stage a miraculous victory there as well. And we'll be back next week to talk about another 3 points. 3 points in the Champions League. Things are flying high. Everything's great. We're all boss again. And, we can only dream, eh? Hopefully, fingers crossed. Yep, that was TBT Talks. Thanks for listening.